Hi and hello, watch fans, and welcome back to the Real Time Show with me, your friendly neighborhood watchmaker, Rob Nuds. I'm joined by our Amsterdam-based friendly neighborhood jeweler, Alon Ben Joseph, to recap the amazing time we had in Geneva during Geneva Watch Week, which of course played host to Watches of Wonders, the brands showing at the Beau Rivage, Time to Watches, Chronopolis, and various other brands showing their wares around town. It was a hectic week. I think in total, we had close to 200 meetings between us because we split up this time and ran round like maniacs trying to see as many people as we can. But we're going to break down our experience of the fairs. We're going to talk about the top 4 fairs, the official organised fairs that we went to, give you our top 3 watches, maybe a couple of wildcards in there as well from each, and then look ahead to the future and talk about what we think might need to happen for Geneva to continue to have the lure that it does right now. But first of all, we're going to talk about what we thought about the whole week in general. And to kick us off with that conversation, I'll pass over to my co-host.
I've never been that long in Geneva. 8 days, biggest fair ever. I have to say, I even miss Basel World more now, but it was awesome. The number one question I got all week long, Rob, and the biggest quantity of WhatsApps are, hey, where's your office? Where's the glass igloo? Where are you guys? So some people missed the memo that this year the Real Time Show was the media partner for Chronopolis. Time to Watches was awesome. They did a different format. They didn't have a studio this year, so might come back, might not. But the Igloo might come back, so stay tuned, guys. I loved all the messages that we got, and the feedback for Chronopolis episodes were excellent as well. So that was great fun.
Yeah, just to clarify, the difference in our partnership this year with Chronopolis was that we pre-recorded all the episodes before we got to the fair, so we didn't have to drag people off their booths or try and force ourselves into that glass box in the middle of hot weather. So, yes, you can check out all the episodes that launched during the fair. There was 4 that went out every day from Chronopolis, titled Chronopolis Radio, appropriately enough. And I think that partnership looks likely to continue in the future. And for those of you that missed the Igloo, just keep your eyes turned towards Geneva Watch Days in September, because it might make a return.
Starting days early on, I missed the swim. Mea culpa. I did bring my swimming trunks and the flip-flops. You did go.
Yeah, just me.
I was shattered from Grand Duking. And we Grand Duked a lot. Is that a verb, dear Rob?
I think it is now, mate, yeah.
The highlight of the Grand Duking was actually the last night where we had a whole darting tournament going on. And I must say, Rob, I was very impressed with your skills. And it seemed the more liters of beer that went down, the more bull's eyes you've hit. So, guys, he is really, really a multi-talented chap. This guy can do anything, and everything he does to the best of his ability. And his abilities are Superman level. Anyways, we're deviating. Back to watches. We kicked off. Well, we both arrived on Monday. So we did a bit of meetings in Beau Rivage, hotels. I went to AHCI, the Independence, in Icebergs. I think I've missed you there. I met my childhood hero, Vianney Halter. Had the honor to hang out a little half hour with him, which was amazing. We talked watches, kids, family, the future watchmaking. So very exciting. I even went back twice there on one day. So that was great fun. Next morning, first thing, 8 a.m., opening day, Chronopolis. I was there. You were there. Most of the brands weren't. So they are cool cats because half of them overslept. And half of them were setting up booths, yes. So that was funny. But what an epic show. Great setup. Great vibe off the bat because we hung out there in the morning and everybody's coming in. And it's like an old frat house or a mensa at a university where everybody hangs out. So during the week, I've frequented almost every day. I did miss a few. Highlight was the party. It was so crazy that I arrived at 8 p.m. I think I left at 1:30 and I did not find Rob once. We've been apparently going in circles in the masses of hundreds of people, and I've shook hands and gave hugs to over 200-300 people, but I did not see Rob there. That's how good the party was.
Yeah, good for you, that's for sure. I was there, but not there for as long as you. I went to the Ulysse Nadam boutique party beforehand and loaded up on some incredible cocktails that they were serving in lab glasses, which was really amusing and very much on brand for the laboratory that is Ulysse Nadam. And when I arrived at Chronopolis, which must have been around 10, I suppose, having, funnily enough, met one of my heroes, not for the first time, actually for the third time, but for the first time to have a proper chat to, Peter Braun, a famous German journalist who I mentioned in my interview in Der Spiegel, which came out in December, I think. He'd got wind of the fact he'd been mentioned by me in this write-up by Felix Daxel, a former guest on the show, and a top chap who writes about things other than watches as well. If you didn't know, check out Felix's work because he is on a global exploration of craftsmanship and luxury products. It's quite incredible to see the stuff he's encountering on his travels. But talking to Peter, along with Steffi Krieger, of course, who we know very well from Ulysse Nadam, was an absolute joy. And I really do mean that. I was very touched. He asked for a copy of my book. He asked me to sign the copy of the book that I gave him, should I say. And I have to remember to take a better pen with me because it's really, I don't get asked for autographs very often. Not even say, it wasn't actually the first time in my life it's happened, nor the second, but I never have a good pen. I either have to borrow something from someone or I have a shitty little Bic. And I'm like, don't fuck this up. I did fuck it up a little bit, but hopefully he'll forgive me.
DM Gary Steingart. I'm quite sure he has put some signatures in books in his life.
Oh, funnily enough, I've got a signature of Gary's on the shelf behind me from the book that he gave us when we met him in Dresden a couple of years back. So I left for Ulysse Nadam party about 10, turned up to Chronopolis, and I thought I was witnessing some kind of mass invasion of Geneva. It was unbelievable. Truth be told, there weren't that many people inside the building itself, but the courtyard area, or the atrium, was completely rammed. Like, it looked like Gatecrasher in the 90s. It was just a club atmosphere. There were great vibes, as the kids would say. Everybody was laughing, smiling, dancing, drinking, smoking, having a whale of a time. It was the closest thing I've seen to the kind of parties we used to have in Basel since Basel. And we referenced Basel because I too had that feeling this time. For some reason, I really miss Basel World. I don't know whether it was just how everything was close together, how the booths seemed more creative or the parties seemed wilder. Because, let's face it, I actually prefer Geneva Town Centre to hang out in than I do Basel's, and I think the prices are comparable, and somehow in Geneva it doesn't feel quite so extortionate, although it is wildly extortionate. What gave you that feeling yourself? Why did you think back upon Basel, and how does that reflect upon your opinion of Watches and Wonders in its current guise?
On the logistics side of things, both you and I, but you heard a lot of people losing time on the commute. I was catching up with our dear friend Asher Rapkin from Collective Horology, as we always do after fairs. And he also said that he once, and I think you did that as well. You guys went 2-3 times back and forth in one day between city center and the airport area, so the Pal Expo.
I did it once on Thursday. I went back and forth twice, which was intensely stupid, probably more than anything. I did that because I got a last-minute meeting with IWC, and I really wanted to stop by and say hi to Andrew and see the new stuff. So I did it. It was hard work.
It's hard work, but it's inefficient because usually people are there 2-3 days, 5 max journalists. I extended to 8 days because I also did a bit of wholesale this year, which was maybe too long because it's really long. But you lose valuable time. So that's something that I missed in the centralized organization of Basel World. Now, on the fun side of things, the Messeplatz was where everybody congregated. So that was awesome and fun. There were good parties. Shout out to Breitling. But you're right. Geneva is more fun than Basel as a city. So a tip to brands listening to this episode, definitely make sure you sponsor next year's Chronopolis party, because then you'll be the hero of the town. So a little marketing tip from us. Rob, I'm quite sure that our listeners are fed up us rambling on about how hard we partied and how much we drank. Let's get into watches because that's what they're here for.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, let's start with the big fair. Let's start with Watches and Wonders. What we're going to do is we're going to share with you our top 3 or thereabouts watches from each of the 4 major fairs. So that's Watches and Wonders, Time to Watches, Chronopolis, and the Beau Rivage. We'll just call it the Beau Rivage for this go around. We're going to do them in reverse order. We'll alternate. So I'll go first and say my third choice. Alan will give you his third choice. My second, Alan's second. My first, Alan's first. We'll have a little bit of analysis, but we're going to buzz through them, spending no more than 10 minutes on each fair. And then we will do a little bit of a roundup and add in anything else that we might have seen on the wrists of people frequenting Geneva. And there was a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff outside of the fairs, actually. Maybe even my 3 favourite things I saw on wrists outside of the fairs. So, number 3 for me, from Watches and Wonders, and this is tough. All of my choices could be number 1s, and in fact, they probably all deserve to be, but I'm going to go for this incredible Parmigiani chronograph Mysterio, which has this hidden chronograph mechanism. The watch looks like a basic 3-hander, no subdials, very, very clean, beautiful dove egg blue, I think that's what I would call it. Duck egg blue, it's not a dove. Duck egg blue dial with regular handset. There's a pusher at 2, a pusher at 7, a pusher at 2, a pusher at 7, that's right. When you start the chronograph, an extra set of hands appears from, beneath. Actually, what happens is the hands that were telling the time snap back to 0 to start counting the chronograph on the central axis. And there's another 2 hands that were hidden beneath the time-telling hands that stay in place and continue to track the time while the chronograph is running. It is a complete redesign top to bottom from the chronograph mechanism. The whole concept is new. It's been executed with the kind of grace and delicate touch you'd expect from Parmigiani, and it is, I think, one of the most triumphant debuts of a model I've ever encountered. What do you reckon?
I think, Rob, our top 3 is going to be rather similar. It would have taken my first position, but I have a little hunch that your number 1 might be the same as my number 1, because I've been in the same room while we've been presented that watch that I'm thinking of. I unfortunately have not seen this Parmigiani. And like you, I love Parmigiani very much. This is the ultimate elegant and discreet chronograph in the world. It's bonkers. I don't think they made enough noise about it. I really regret not seeing it. The proof that I love it is I besides my beloved The Real Time Show podcast that made me a true journalist, I write now articles as an independent journalist. So for Gentleman's Watch, I had the honor now to write 1.5 years, and it's a tradition in the making. It's now the second time I had to write an article after the fair, but the deadline is very close. So I had to type it up on the plane. So I had to rack my brain. What is my top 15? I had too many words, so I had to redact it to top 10 watches. That watch made it there. For sure, not much to add. If you don't really understand what we're talking about, remember the GMT that they did? They went square and made a chronograph out of it. Sublime.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think discreet is the word of the day for that one, and nicely chosen on your part. My second choice, now, I believe our top 2 are probably going to be... Hang on a second. What's your third choice?
It's that one.
It's that one. Okay, right.
It is that one, and it would have been the number 1 if the number 1 isn't the number 1.
I'm pretty sure that our top 2 are going to be the same as well. So I think we're going to have the same top 3, amazingly, despite the amount of watches we saw. But I think we might have them flipped.
I'm actually maybe throwing a curveball at 2, but let's see. You go first with your second.
All right, well, just to put the cat amongst the pigeons, I'm going to put... This is the watch that has my heart. Okay, so let me just qualify this by saying my number 1 pick is my number 1 pick because it's the watch I've been calling for. I've been asking for it for years, and it's a watch I would actually buy. Number 2 is the watch that I think is maybe the reason why I'm into watches. And so it occupies a very special place in my heart. This is the latest evolution of the now 25-year-old model line, the Freak from Ulysse Nardin. This is the Super Freak. This is, I would say, without a doubt, the freakiest Freak of all time. It's an unbelievable execution of the concept, which was conceived by Carole Forestier in the late 90s, a concept for which she won the Breguet Prize in, I think, 97, beating out legendary watchmakers such as George Daniels and Derek Pratt. She took this idea to Ulysse Nardin, or Ulysse Nardin saw this idea and said, hey, we can do something with that. And together with Rolf and Ludwig and the whole team at Ulysse Nardin, they were able to solve the only issue she had with her concept, and that's a low power reserve. When Carole debuted, I say Carole like I know I don't, I wish I did, she's a legend, but when Madame Frostier debuted this concept, it had, I think, 12 hours power reserve, 10, 12 hours, something like that. And by redesigning the mainspring and placing it around the movement, basically, they were able to up the power reserve to what is now, in this particular model, an incredible 70 hours, I believe, which is absolutely nuts. It's a double tourbillon freak with components within it that are mind-blowingly minute. I think it was the most impressive thing I saw all week. It was a small glass vial of what looked like white sand, but when you put it under a microscope, you could see these were actually perfectly finished spherical ceramic ball bearings that are used in that mechanism. How watchmakers pick those up and insert those into the watch, not even I can conceive. So incredible work. Beautiful to talk to Mathieu as usual. Thanks to Steffi. Thanks to Lisa for sorting out the meeting. We adore Ulysse Nardin, and I think that's going to be your number one. But let's find out what your number two is.
I'm going to throw the ball at you. On the recording with Mathieu, you asked me how many spare parts in the Super Freak. How many parts?
Well, there's 0 spare parts, mate. They're all very necessary. It's a good question. So the movement's got over 300 and the whole thing's got over 500, but you're putting me on the spot there. It's a lot. Maybe it's like 526 and 371 or something like that. I might have those numbers, or the 10's the wrong way around, but it's ballpark that. So it's incredible.
Yeah. So I think I said on the recording 513, but I think it's 511. So that made my first spot. I know which one is on your first spot. I actually am not going to put that on number 2. It did make my number 10, because I'm throwing a curveball, because my number 2 is the Twice Unique by Nomos.
No way.
Yes.
That is a curveball beyond curveballs. Yeah. Well, and Roland Schwertner, take a bow. Jesus Christ. That's incredible.
And you know why?
You're a dealer.
I saw it. Nobody paid attention to it. The table was in the booth. The booth was extremely busy. I want to give a shout out here to Frédéric Constant and Nomos. I've been at Pal Expo from Monday through Monday. I skipped Saturday. So I've been 7 days inside Pal Expo. Day, afternoon, even early evenings. And besides Patek and Rolex, Nomos and Frédéric Constant were the busiest booths all day long. You couldn't get in. I took my retailers meeting with Nomos outside because it was so packed. I couldn't even get into the booth. So they did the rectangular table with the normal novelties. And then they talked a bit about the round table. Well, I said, what is that? So they explained the concept of Twice Unique. I'm like, whoa, this is like the Ark of Noah. So they made a rolling art project where artists design a dial and they can choose a model, Tangente, Orion, etc. And then they make one in gold, one in steel, and you're eligible to buy a set, and you need to write an essay why you want to buy that watch. They're not doing AP style by being arrogant. They just want to say who's the most passionate. So I think that's amazing, and it's a rolling project because there will be more dials added, new artists added. I mean, the genesis of our relationship, dear Rob, is Nomos, and the first collab we ever done is art. The style, the watch I'm wearing right now is the Fierce. The style, I have a third art collab project in the pipeline. It's very dear to my heart. It's maybe a bit nerdy, it's a bit artistic, it's a bit geeky, but I really love that Nomos did this. Very philosophical.
Incredibly so. Yeah, so philosophical. In fact, it's still taking a while to settle with me. I was a huge fan of their latest club, Sport World Timer. I think it's the best one they've done so far with the white dial. Much plainer than anything that's gone before, but I think that one, once again, I've said this every time, because when the Club Sport World Timer came out, it didn't really hit me, particularly in the feels. God, I'm talking like a kid. I've been hanging out with those Chronopolis guys too much. But I've been warmed to it with every subsequent release, and I really liked the trio of black dialed and neon accented models they did last year. This one for me, though, this is the purest expression of the concept. It looks like a Nomos and feels like a Nomos, and I'm glad to see it in the collection.
So funny little side note to show you how humble Nomos is. They had a little tiny price increase recently, and they kicked up the world timers to 4,400 in euro in VAT, okay? Huge waiting list still today at Ace for these Nomoses. They launched this new dial, a third one into the core range. You're right, it is the best one of the three. The Ace list mailbox exploded. Huge waiting list for the 792. But then we were talking about pricing. Strangely enough, that watch is 140 euros lower in price. So we thought, I called Dale. I'm like, Dale, dude, you made a typo uploading into our website. He's like, no, Alon, it's really lower in price. So I think because they used a bit of less color and it's not really metallic, they could have easily made it 4,400, but it shows how ethical and humble Nomos is. So again, kudos to Nomos. All right.
Yeah.
Dear Rob, should I guess your number one?
Yeah, go on then.
Dun, Bulgari Octo Finissimo 37. But then it begs the question.
Yeah.
Gold, steel, gold or titanium matte or polished. I was sitting in the room with you and actually the half matte polish was growing on you.
It was growing on me, yeah, but I definitely would take the fully blasted one. So I would have the baby brother to yours, so we could finally match, because I've always coveted that watch, as you know. I've loved it on your wrist. You've got a bigger wrist than me, and it suits you just fine, but for me, it looks like I'm wearing a credit card on a bracelet, so I always wanted it smaller. They did a great job. They didn't just, like, I mean, it is basically a one-for-one reduction, but the movement had to be totally redesigned. It's a new movement to get it to fit, and they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. Like, the Bulgari Otto Finissimo has always been, as we say, a modern icon, and we don't use that word lightly, although it does get thrown around very easily. But this is the one that they needed to reach a wider audience, and not just women, although it's obviously more wearable for everybody, so it's going to hit a few female wrists that the previous one couldn't have hit, but just for average wristed size guys like who loved the Otto Finissimo concept but couldn't wear the original. Amazing stuff. The kind of, like, just nuanced development that we want to see from brands. It's a commercial decision, but it's a smart one. I love it. That's my number one.
Thank you. I've kind of already said which one is mine. We've spoken enough about it. So maybe while I'm hogging the mic, I quickly want to give a shout out to a few watches that stood out to me. Maybe you want to share a bit more. A very close top three contestant was the Van de Clau Venus. For me, they made an annual calendar, new box, sapphire box, crystal. It's a new design language that they're distilling from the Grand Planetarium, which really resonated with me. Huge surprise for me, and that's why I love fairs. You walk down the halls and people pull you into booths. So I got pulled into Rue de Silva, and that's something that I've never seen in the metal. Actually didn't pay a lot of attention to, and I was blown away. Met Jackie, the owner. Amazing. So if you've never paid attention to them, I highly recommend you to do so. And something that was very high on my list for many years is to meet Marco Tedeschi of Cross Studio. And finally at this fair, I had the time to sit down for an hour with him and his team. I was blown away. Something I also highly recommend all our dear listeners to pay a bit more attention to. He is coming on the show. We invited him. He committed, so we will oblige and follow up. And something that I also really enjoyed is spending a bit of relaxed time with Ferdinand Berthoud. What a joy.
Oh, yeah, wonderful watches. Always love Ferdinand Berthoud, like really doing the legacy of that name justice. For me, there were maybe three more that stood out as like potential contenders for the podium, and that was the Chapek Hour Jumper model designed by Thomas Funder, which I absolutely love. I think it is unexpected and delightful on the wrist, totally different aesthetic. It's a shame that it's so limited, and when it's done, because I really think that would be a very positive addition to the collection going forward. In addition to that, the Moser pump, the Streamliner pump, Hard to ignore how cool that watch is. Harder still to ignore how cool the kicks that come with it are. Some custom Reeboks. Reebok, although it's owned by a US company now, was founded in Bolton, not too far from where I grew up, so I've got a bit of hometown love for that one. And maybe the most surprising model that shook me was the Bianchi Rotondo Ultrafino Carbon Skeleton Sky Blue. So there's a lot of things in that watch that you wouldn't associate with me. Carbon, skeletonization, and so on. Tourbillons even, don't get me started on that. But I tell you what, that's a beautiful watch. It's really wearable, and I think Bianchi are going places. Let's move on to the next fair. Let's just go right round the corner to Time to Watches, and I think I can guess straight away what our number one is going to be, and I'm sure there'll be a lot to say about that. So I'm going to go straight to my number 3. And I will say anything by Alexander Beauregard, because I love what Alexander does. I think he is uniquely talented in the industry. There aren't many, and I can never say the word, but lapidarists? Is that the words? Did I get it close? You know more about that than me.
Yeah, lapidarist, yeah.
Okay.
Lapidary and lapidarist, yeah.
So
the Gemstone King.
Gemstone King. So he finishes his stones by hand, and the way that they fit together is a jigsaw for the mind. It's absolutely beautiful. He's a Montreal-based Canadian guy, has collaborated with one of your heroes as well, Vianney Halter, who you mentioned earlier. So some serious watchmaking provenance in those pieces too.
Nothing lied about that, because while I was sitting with Vianney Halter, Alexander popped by, and I hung out with him as well. They have a beautiful mentor-apprentice relationship, almost father-son-like or brotherly. There was banter, there were hugs, kisses, mutual respect. It was beautiful to see, actually. And that's why
kisses?
No, it was funny. No, he gave... No. No, it was brotherly, respectful, warmth. It was beautiful to see. So both of them are wonderful human beings. Obviously, fantastic creators and creative masters. But it was nice to see that they had this mutual respect going on and willingness to help each other. So I saw that actually in live.
I mean, that's the thing, though, right? You know, there is this... I mean, Vianney is a elder statesman of the industry, if we could be so bold as to call him that. Hope he doesn't mind us pointing out how long he's been around and in the game and at the top of it. But Alexander's at the top of his game, and I think that's what makes this fusion so beautiful and so natural. Like, Vianney does stuff that Alexander can't do. Alexander does stuff that Vianney can't do. And when they come together, they create a timepiece or timepieces that no one else, no other duo could put out there into the world. So that's why it's so special to me. What's your number 3 from Time to Watches?
Our number 1 is 100% the same. And it might be my all-time hero of the week. And it overshadowed almost everything. So it's almost the other side of the polar end. Mm-hmm. It's the Squall Sub 37.
Wow, yeah, you went right to the other end. Yeah, interesting. I love Squall. Of course, we have a lot of time for them and the people behind the brands. Good wearable watches at an affordable price. Talking of that leads me into my second choice from Fears. Now, I couldn't decide which of their releases or which of the models they had on show to put in this spot. Initially, I was going to go for the new pastel dialed Redcliffs, the 39.5 in sherbet yellow, soft peach, and pale lilac. I'm particularly a fan of the soft peach myself. Love a soft peach. Can't get enough of those. It's that time of year as well. But no, I think the one that really has to take the biscuit for me is the Brunswick 40.5 Jump Hour China Blue. I've seen pictures of that model online, but I hadn't seen it in person. And that China Blue dial, it's serene. It pulls me in. The finishing on the surround, the sort of gear shape pattern is unreal, and it's wearable. It's smart, but it's also got enough presence to be worn casually on a leather strap or a suede strap, even better perhaps. Absolutely top stuff from Fears, and that watch is €4,100 for a jump hour as well. So the guys down in Bristol are still doing great work, and long may it continue. What's your number 2?
Ding, 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 ding.
Same.
Stuck in the middle, and we're unanimous. It's maybe a bit boring. I have the coral one, and I said, how many can you make? But the pastels are such good colors. But these chaps and wonderful ladies in Bristol, they have something going on. It's this elegance. There's something contemporary, and the magic sauce is Lee. It just works. And they were so busy that they filled half of one of these private rooms. They could have filled the whole room. I wanted to ask you this, Rob. Do you think it's time for Fears to move into Watches and Wonders?
Oh, that's a very good question. Fears are a very interesting brand in that they could feasibly feel at home in any of the 4 locations. You know, they've got the community aspects to them that would land them squarely in Chronopolis. They've got the sort of old school elegance that maybe fits Beau Rivage very nicely. They've got the up and coming players that sit generally in Times to Watches, and they're well enough established with a long history and, you know, a family lineage through Nicholas himself to justify a spot in Watches and Wonders. I would say no. I don't think that it would benefit them greatly commercially. I think they could go anywhere. If I were them, I would maybe retreat to Beau Rivage, actually, because I think that being in the centre of town might benefit them from the after hours liaisons that could occur through that.
Interesting. Okay. Shall we say the number 1 simultaneously?
I'll let you take it away. You give us a bit of a breakdown on this and why you think it's so special.
So I'm quite sure you also picked the Pulse 60 by Dominic Renault, which I knew, of course, he's going to pick, although we didn't discuss this. Dominic Renault is a legend, like Vianney Halter. If you don't know who he is, co-founder of Renault and Papy, bought long time ago by Audemars Piguet, and then taken over by Renault Papy. He was dormant for quite some time, came back to the scene with a blast, launching the brand Renault Texier, the Monday watch. And this year, just before the Geneva Watch Week, before Time to Watches, they launched a second brand, the group behind the master, Dominic Renault, a standalone brand, Dominic Renault, with the Pulse 60, a 1 hertz watch. New caliber, thinking outside the box, visually very appealing. And the honor is to our resident watchmaker to explain what is so special about a 1 hertz caliber, dear Rob.
Well, what's so special about it? It's extremely engaging to watch in operation because the swing of the balance is so slow. It is naturally as it's 1 hertz, that means it has 2 ticks per second. So you get perfect half-second readouts from a second hand that seems to tick, right? So obviously, we talk about the smooth sweep of something like 36,000 VPH Zenith El Primero, but it's not actually sweeping. It's still stepping just 10 times per second because that's a 5 hertz caliber. The general operating frequency in the industry nowadays is 28,800 VPH or 4 hertz, and that is 8 ticks per second. Still appears to be sweeping, especially if you're working with a sub-dial seconds hand, because that tricks the eye into making it look smoother. Other things exist, 21,600 and 18,000 both exist. That's 3 and 2.5 hertz, but this 1 hertz caliber actually looks almost like a half deadbeat seconds. Now, a deadbeat seconds is a complication separate, or maybe not complication is the best way to term it, because similar to a tourbillon, for example, it actually just provides a different way of seeing the time or the time being communicated to you rather than adding a function, which is normally the definition of a complication. But deadbeat seconds is quite hard to come by, and that's a mechanical movement that ticks once per second. They do kind of try and say that it's like a additional complication because it looks like it is, but because of the operating frequency, it's just what happens when you have a 1 hertz caliber. So if you understand how calibers work, you can kind of like see that for what it is. But what it is incredibly unusual to witness and wonderful to see on the wrist. The massive balance wheel at 6 o'clock, totally visible on the dial, is the star of the show. But this watch could have just been a technical achievement. What makes it so special is that it's also aesthetically pleasing and extremely wearable. And I should say something regarding the technical achievement. There was a lot of work that went into actually making a 1 hertz movement work, and how it works is the balance kind of rotates twice in one direction and twice back against on itself. The spring kind of unfurls and then collapses in on itself to enable enough impulse from the escapement to keep driving the balance backwards and forwards. But ultimately, a watch is only, as you say, a beautiful watch is a sold watch. A watch is only sold if it's beautiful as well as technically interesting, and in this case it is beautiful. It rivals things like the Antarctique and like the Streamliner, even better than the Streamliner to be honest, in terms of wearability because of how low profile and ergonomically formed it is, the really nice integration of the rubber straps. It's lightweight. It comes in lots of different colour formations, some bi-colour in there as well. It's a home run hit. I've said this before and I keep on finding myself surprised by what people are capable of, but I don't know how he's going to follow it. I'm sure if anyone can, Dominic Renault is the man to do it. So let's move on after sharing a top spot there at Time to Watches to the next fair we're going to attack is Beau Rivage. Now this one is interesting. There was a lot of brands showing there. We didn't get to see them all, but we saw quite a few. I think that on this one, we might not have much crossover. So I'll kick it over to you to give us your third place.
Third place goes to a meeting I wanted to take for a long time. It's with Marco Borracino from Singer. That's the beauty of taking more time in a city and doing fairs. I actually went to him on Monday. He was there. I was relaxed. I landed. It was actually my second meeting. We had time to chill out. And actually our mutual friend RJ walked in on his birthday. So we hung out together, had a little salute for his birthday. He also loves Singer, also very much. So it was nice to jam a bit. I never took the time to sit down, relax with a loop to see how magnificent it is. So I was really taken aback by what they do. And he's been on the show, and I think he's now 3-4 collections in, or models or calibers. It's really impressive. And I urge collectors that are triggered by the looks or have heard about them to study the watches. Go see them. The finish is second to none. There's actually a design philosophy behind it. And it has not so much to do with Porsche, because initially the Singer reimagined name comes from the car tuner that tunes Porsche cars. But the watches have not so much to do with that. The dive track that I guess was a lot of people's number one last year is bonkers.
Yeah. Well, was it last year or was it 2 years ago? It feels like it was a long time, a while ago now, I think. I think they had like the 1969 chronographs and time onlys last year, maybe?
Yeah, the time onlys, maybe. Maybe the dive track's already 2 years ago.
Crazy.
Still very impressive. And he has a lot of creative ideas, both visually and mechanically. So it's a brand to take, well, I want to say serious. I don't think anybody doesn't take them serious. But it's not a gimmick brand, if you know what I'm saying. So I think that maybe using the name Singer Reimagined harms them more than that it helps them. And it seems that they're losing the Reimagined name a bit, because on some watches, the Reimagined is taken off. Some they're still on. So I think it's a big rising star. What's yours,
I think
Rob?
you're right. Well, I think on the subject of Singer, you're right. There's an evolution there where they're really trying to flesh out a collection so the brand is known in its own right as a watchmaker. And I think Marco is doing a sterling job, and he's a lovely man, extremely talented designer, and we wish him all the best. My number 3, I can't actually talk about it that much, which is good because we're obviously running out of time because we're chatterboxers. Because we signed an NDA to say that we wouldn't say anything about this watch, so I'll just tell you the brand and tell you to keep your eyes on Alto. So, yes, we actually signed in person a non-disclosure agreement, but what they've got on the horizon is definitely worth checking out. So I'll skip straight ahead to my number 2 to keep things moving along. This was a last-minute appointment that I hadn't expected to take. I was contacted by Moose from 289 Consulting and asked if I would stop by and see Antoine Pasuccio downstairs in the hidden bar underneath Beau Rivage. And I've got to say, I could pick any number of watches from him as the star, but I'll just say this. The company is family-owned, family-operated. He works himself with his daughter, who is an extremely talented gem setter. Check it out. They're doing wild stuff, and it is super wild. It's kind of a bit of an echo from like the early 2000s, early 2010s, but they're still going down this track. Big watches, bold complications, excellent stone setting. Worth a look.
I believe that his daughter and son are now in the company and they're making a push for it again. Is that true? I read that somewhere in an article.
There's definitely a lot of energy around the brand this year. Like, it's been on the scene for many, many, many years, and it's always been in the back of my mind as like an extremely talent-rich operation. But this whole family angle is not something I was even aware of before, so I think it's quite a recent decision to really push down that track and inject some vitality into a concept which has plenty of legs.
My second, I'm at my second, right?
Yeah, you are, yeah.
So my first one was crystal clear. I just need to rack my brain who I've seen there. And my second was almost the first, is a brand that I never paid attention to. And the reason is why, and I've told a few of these co-owners why, I think their logo is horrendous. The font is horrendous.
Love it.
And
Love a bit of critique.
I don't like so much when they blend two words and then share a letter. Do you already know what brand I'm talking about or no? So when the last letter is the first letter of the second word and then they blend them into two and they share the letter.
No, I'm drawing a blank.
Hardcore horlogerie. Very impressive. But just because of the font and the name, I've never paid attention to them, which is very shallow of me.
It is shallow, but I love the fact that you have a stance on it at least, and I'm trying to think who it could possibly be, but I'm afraid you're gonna have to tell me.
Art Time.
Oh yeah, that's fucking horrendous. Yeah.
So,
but is it not also a bit of a play on like our time? When you say it all at once, it sounds like our time. And it's art and it's time. Like, is it... Okay, look, I think it's actually kind of nice. It's an easy word to say, but is it too clever for its own good?
Okay, this is very interesting. It's funny that you said this. I've sent several people to Lee Juan Rapati during the fair because I said you urgently need new fonts, either for your date disc, numbers on your dials, or logos. I'll mention only two to be a bit discreet.
Democratic.
Art Time. I begged him to go meet Lee. And the second brand, I took his hand and literally took him to Lee inside Villa Saracen. What's the second brand? You just mentioned it.
Did I?
You just said the name.
Did I?
Our Time, Your Time. There's a brand there that's called Your Time.
What, You Are Time?
Yeah. Lovely guy. But nice watch. He asked me for my feedback. He didn't even know who I was, yeah? He didn't ask who I was. He just asked me out of, dude, what do you think of my watch? I'm like, right. Okay, Alon, bite your tongue. Alon, bite your tongue. Alon, shut the fuck up.
And but you didn't shut the fuck up.
I couldn't. Everybody that knows me. The poor guy, he literally wanted my feedback. I said, you're Swiss, yes. I said, you Swiss don't like criticism. So he had a smirk on his face. I said, do you want it or no? He's like, yes. I said, are you sure? He's like, yes. I said, I love this, I love this, I love this. I said, is this a final product? He's like, yes. I said, can you make new dials? He's like, no. I said, do you still want the feedback? He's like, yes. I said, your name, we can debate about it. It's funny. We'll keep your name as is. Can you please make a new font and logo? He's like, why? I said, it's horrendous and you sell 50 to 80% less because of it. He's like, do you really think so? I said, yes. You're not the first to say it. I said, there you go. Do you want to meet the best font designer in the world? He's like, yes. I said, come. So he thought I was crazy. I took him literally by the hand, took him one flight of stairs up, and took him to Lee.
I'm sure that was emasculating.
And then I put him on the spot. I said, Lee, do you know this watch? He's like, no. I said, what do you think? He says, Alon, the truth or be polite? I said, truth. It needs new fonts and logo. I said, more importantly, can you help? He said, yes. And matchmaking done. So hopefully there's a new logo coming, a new
Poor Lee.
fonts.
He's got so much work now. I mean, he was busy at the start of the fair, and now you're just dropping all this nonsense on top of him. But, you know, he is good, and he's made his own bed, so hope he enjoys sleeping in it.
But a shout out to Art Time. One of the 6 co-founders I spoke to, I'll be semi-discreet, agreed with me. The problem is there are too many captains on the ship, so there's no consensus on yes or no, but they had that feedback there as well. But you know what? Don't be shallow and stupid like me. Go study these watches. Their watches are bonkers. They're so freaking cool.
They are cool. And they've got a lot of creativity. Like you say, maybe too many cooks in the kitchen on that one. But the resulting product is great. Just, branding little off for both of us, I think. I always find myself excited by these names that are kind of clever. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be a gimmick. You don't want the first thing people to hear about you is kind of a play on words. Like, that's not what a name of a watch brand should be. Fine for like a cool, like, consumable item, you know, something a bit more throwaway, like a phone case or like, a kitchen utensil. I don't know. You just want to get noticed amidst the noise. But with a watch brand, if you've got real desire and intention for it to be around for a long time, you need something a bit more timeless, I would say.
Yeah, so this is a shout out. Oh, sorry. Just a quick shout out. Pim Pijper from Christian van der Klauw is a huge watch freak. We talk watches day and night, not only van der Klauw. He showed that watch to me, the novelty they launched this year. I believe it's the Art 02 in titanium. And because of him, I went to go see, and it's splendid. Yes, Rob, you're number 1.
One of your homegrown heroes, Holthenrichs. I have obviously seen these watches before in person, but I never had the chance to spend quite as much time with the watches and the team. And I just think that they have got to a level of refinement with their 3D printing process now that is on a par with traditional CNC machining, and well, on a par in terms of finishing quality, but obviously way, way, way beyond it in terms of the geometry that's possible with their proprietary techniques. So I am really impressed with where they're going. I personally still think that like the sort of porcelain dial style ones are my favorite from a dial perspective, but I do love the really organic case in the more extravagant models. So that's my number 1.
Amazing. My number 1 is your number 3. And
but we can't say anything about it.
No, I recently bought the
Don't say anything.
No, I won't. I bought the Art 01, so the first chapter, and
awesome.
And the NDA. I'm regret signing it because now I've ordered that watch as well. So that's the only thing I'm saying. It's very easy. That's my number 1.
Okay, so big props to Alto. So we've had some crossovers at every fair so far. Let's see if that trend continues when we get to Chronopolis. I'll kick off with a 3-way tie in third place, and it's quick because, again, I can't actually say what we saw, but there are great things coming from Serica, Studio Underdog, and Atelier Wen. So new models, which we can't communicate just yet, but very, 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 very much worthwhile looking out for. What's your number 3 from Chronopolis?
You're right, and I've seen more embargoed watches. My number 1 is embargoed, but when this episode airs, most probably it will be launched a few days later. So make sure you follow those brands. The number 2 is embargoed as well, although just launched when this episode airs. Number 3 is the collab between Hegide and my fellow countryman Peter Kaiser from Studio Kaiser. Good times. I have the stickers on my laptop. The watch is awesome. It's a wink tribute to the Frank Mueller Crazy Hours. And Peter Kaiser is actually a very world-renowned logo designer as well. So not so much a font designer like Lee, but he's a logo designer. He's basically an artist and a graphic designer. So that is hands down my number 3.
Okay, so that's your number 3. So you've got 2 more in the chamber, right? Okay, my second is just a brand in general, because it's a brand that I think has impressed us all in the industry with how it's grown from a literal Kickstarter project. A Kickstarter project I actually backed to what it is now, and that's the Italian brand Eco Neutra. Never say it right, but brilliant stuff. The new ceramic chronograph they've got is just, for me, absolutely divine. The Rivenera and the second Rivenera, the smaller one, absolutely top draw. I think dress watches and rectangular watches are having a bit of a moment, and we need more of them in the industry. I don't get tired of having those options for my wrist. But yeah, great stuff. You know, I was thinking, actually, I've only ever backed 3 watches on Kickstarter, and they've all gone on to become proper brands, which is, you know, nice for me, but maybe a coincidence, or maybe they had that in their DNA from day one, the potential for success, and that's what I picked up on. But L'Aventure, Eco Neutra, and Venezianico, actually, they were the 3 brands I've backed on Kickstarter, and all of them exist now as fully fledged independents. All right, I'm going to hand over to you for your second choice.
Same brand. They've shown me the Embargo watch, which is their collab that launches on the day that we record this, so a few days before this episode airs, is their collab with our dear friend Second. Like you, I love Econotra. I had the honor very early on to make a collab with them for Ace Jewelers. I've bought the Rivenera the moment it came out. Love it. Second rectangular watch I've ever bought. So love what these guys do. Great guys. Very fair price points. And it's amazing how Romaric Andre keeps on banging out these intellectual, fun collabs. And there was no better canvas than the Rivenera of Econocha to do this collab with. So I congratulate both our friends on both ends of this collab. What is your number 1, dear Rob? And I think I know the brand.
Well, do you? Because it's actually the brand Z. My favourite watch from Chronopolis is the collaboration between Baltic and Space One. Now, this was not expected. Perhaps we should get used to the unexpected from the guys behind Chronopolis and also the brands showing at Chronopolis, because they share a certain spirit, which is what made the event such a wonderful occasion and made the space so welcoming and nice to be in. This watch doesn't really look like a Baltic or a Space One. I mean, who's to say what a Space One looks like? It looks like whatever the hell Theo and Guillaume want it to look like. And I think that this flexibility appealed to Etienne from Baltic, and they've come together to create this jump hour. I don't know what to call it. It's like a sort of, because the minute track is so large, it looks more like a regulator to me, like in a strange way. But it has this lovely open dial with the option of 2 different surface finishes. Now, this I did not know until I got to the event. I had seen the watch before we got to Chronopolis, because Guillaume showed me pictures of it while we were recording our episode for Chronopolis Radio. And I thought there was just one, like, you know, I think it's like grained plate decoration, but there's actually this second option, which has like a hand-applied cloudy finish. It's something like tremblage, but not. I'll try and find the name for the technique while you're giving us your number 1. But just to note, these models will be available for a limited period of time, just a small window of availability. When it's closed, it's done, it's gone. The one with the fancy finish that's hand applied is €1,000 more than the other one, but since the other one's only, what is it, like €3,000 or something, it's still within reach for many watch collectors. But that was absolutely brilliant, unexpected, gorgeous, and a piece for the ages, I think. What's your number 1?
Ding, 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 ding. Same one.
Oh, nice.
I didn't join that recording, although I recorded with Baltic. So I knew something was coming. I didn't see anything. He didn't show me anything. I saw it first day, Chronopolis at 8 a.m., the physical pieces. I wasn't sitting, so I didn't fall off my chair, but I almost fainted, because I said to myself, Space One is so creative. Baltic is so elegant. Would it be a good collab? Hands down. But how many cool stuff can Theo Frey come up with technically? They usually use an external designer. So I said, okay, maybe it's the Baltic flavor. Will it be an elegant watch? Freaking elegant watch. I don't want to say too much. It will, I believe it's on the 9th of May. They will announce it. A few days later, they're opening the order window. They're making a brand version, which you refer to, and then they make a retailer's version that is indeed 1,000 more. It's hand finished by the Offre Studios. And the term you're looking for, I don't remember by heart either. It's not tremblage, but something.
I found it.
You found it? It's an Offre signature finish. And
yeah,
what is it, Rob?
Well, I'm reading this from watchprosite.com, and the source is SF Watch Lover, and the post is actually put out there by Salman PK. Don't want to take credit for this because I didn't write it. This is, some of this is straight from Hodinkee as well. Charbonnage is the technique. It's a traditional Parisian watchmaking finishing technique that involves using a block of charcoal and oil, or sometimes 9-micron sandpaper for a similar effect, to gently scrape the surface of, typically in German silver, sometimes brass also, the main plate or bridges. A watchmaker manually cuts a point on a block of jeweler's charcoal and applies it to the metal surface using small, controlled, circular or undulating movements. The gentle abrasion creates a unique, soft and slightly irregular cloud-like or meteor-like matte texture that reflects light in a subtle, harmoniously diffused way. After the texture is achieved, a galvanic treatment may be applied to fix the texture on the surface of the metal. So that's it. Charbonnage is the technique. It's gorgeous. I'm sort of stunned. It's poetic. I love it. So yeah, go for that one if you've got the spare cash.
I can't add anything else to that. Going from Chronopolis, what are we left with? Scattered around brands? Or do you want to discuss a few watches that made an impression on you?
Yeah, I want to discuss 3, and I'll just get through these quickly so we can kick over to you and then wrap up. Toledano and Chan have got something on the horizon which is absolutely Toledano and Chan. They are their own masters, and what Phil and Alfred are doing together is, I think, extremely welcome in the industry. They're both great guys. The watches are like nothing else, and it's easy to say that because it's true, and it's also nice to be able to say that and for it to be true. I was impressed by my visit to Urwerk. They finally released my perfect Urwerk. It's in a weirdly white ceramic case with the Wandering Hours complication for which the brand is perhaps best known. It fits my wrist perfectly. At last, I have my Urwerk Grail, so that was lovely to see. And finally, another brand that was showing in the Old Town, just up the road from Urwerk, actually, in, I think it's the Hamlet Hotel. Moron Musi, a brand that I've loved since day one. They're now 13 years old. The products have been in existence for 11 years. They are famous for their no-ring gasket technology. Now, there was a short Moron Musi episode that went out last Sunday featuring a discussion between Vuk and I, because we spent quite some time with the team looking at their new 41mm titanium bracelet watch, and it's great. It makes that brand more accessible than ever before in terms of wearability. So if you don't know what Moron Musi are all about, go check them out.
That episode you've recorded with Vuk was awesome. And a few days after that episode aired, there was an announcement that an American venture capital group bought into Moron Musi and is helping them with distribution in the US. So that's very interesting. So it seems they have a momentum. So good timing on that episode. Well done, Vuk and Rob. Thank you for that. I've enjoyed that episode actually very much. I've learned a lot about the ceilings that I didn't know enough about. So I highly recommend our dear listeners to catch that episode. For me, 2 at AHCI, Icebergs, the Tin King by Chaikin.
Yeah.
Constant Chaikin. Yeah. KC. Bonkers. It's amazing what he keeps on creating. So it's a pity he doesn't speak English. But we've been in contact with their PR team, and probably Ilya will come on the show. So it's something we're working on behind the scenes, guys. And his apprentice, Anton Suanov, with the Flamingo. I don't know if you caught that watch.
Yeah,
Spectacular camo.
I'm a big fan of his, actually. I didn't know he was actually Chaikin's apprentice. I knew they were like somehow connected, but that's really interesting to see and really wonderful that the ingenuity and sideways thinking of Constantine is being passed down to a new maker. So yeah, really, really exciting to see, and a great couple of watches. And all in all, a great fair, right? I mean, we can't wait for the next time we're in Geneva together. That'll be Geneva Watch Days, but we also can't wait to see how Watches and Wonders, Time to Watches, Chronopolis and Beau Rivage develop in the future for Geneva Watch Week, held during April, of course, every year. It will be interesting to see if more brands try and join Chronopolis. Of course, they are at the moment limited by space, and the vibe, I think, was perfectly managed with the 20 brands that they had presenting there. It will be interesting to see what happens when the Beau Rivage renovations that have been underway for a couple of years now are finally finished and space opens up there once more. I am also curious to know if the rumours that Rolex might make a push to try and get their hands on Villa Sarasin to stop Time to Watch us from displaying so close to Polexpo are true. I don't think so. I think it's probably just hearsay, but it's interesting to countenance what would happen if they did make a power play like that. We'll see some musical chairs over the next year for sure. I think Dominic Reynaud will be somewhere else, probably Watches and Wonders, or maybe more like our good friend Sylvain, who we haven't mentioned despite visiting him in the old town at the gallery and then going for dinner with him on Saturday night, has done, and that is to rent their own private space, which I think would suit a brand like Reynaud, because I think people would travel for Reynaud, and I think a lot of people actually travel to Villa Sarasin just to see him, and the rest of the brands there were maybe a bonus to those really high-rolling collectors that just want to get their hands on that magnificent piece from the master himself. Alon, thank you for taking the time to record this episode. I'm glad we finally got it down on tape, because it's already been 2 weeks since the fair ended. I'm sure the listeners are keen to hear what we thought about the fair. If you have any questions about it, of course, then get in touch via the usual channels. You can get to us on WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp network. If you want to be a member of that group, then just hit us up on Instagram at therealtime.show, or contact us via the official website contact form at www.therealtime.show. We'll be back soon with more top quality watch content and interviews with the industry's finest. Until then, stay safe and keep on ticking.